This one. Thank you.
And what about that one that's in the background with the weird screen thing on the front?
Hit it.
Just kick it.
Those are all in the shot. We're good. All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to this Facebook Live, very special event. I'm Jonas Tichenor, and don't know where you're waking up from or what you're watching from a social perspective, but there's a solid chance, if you follow DocuSign, that your social media has been blowing up this morning around the globe as the news has pretty much hitting that DocuSign has, after this search, found a new CEO. And so it is no surprise that as this transition is being made, that the entire Docu family is super excited, not just about the legacy that's been left behind with Keith Krach, but the one that's being picked up and that mantle that's being transferred through with Dan Springer. So today what we wanted to do was give you an opportunity to ask questions, because we know there are a lot of folks who have some, and we are going to ask these guys a few questions just about some of their thoughts around DocuSign and this search and sort of this handing over of the baton, as we've been calling it here at DocuSign. So we're super excited to have in the room with me here in our EBC Live from the San Francisco headquarters, Keith Krach, the current CEO, actually the chairman of the board now, and Dan Springer. Gentlemen, come on in here, and let's dive in to talk a little bit about this transition. First of all, thank you guys for spending some time with me. I know you're both super busy, so thank you for coming in and talking to the folks on Facebook.
Pleased to be here, John.
So, Keith, this is an exciting day for DocuSign. Obviously, the family yesterday, the Docu family. How exciting is this, and to make this kind of announcement, and what does it mean to sort of hand this over? But this is the right guy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a historic day here for DocuSign announcing it. And as we said in our all hands meeting, there's three simple messages. First is, it is right place, right time, right person. I mean, the right place. We have an absolutely all-star team focused on building out the DocuSign Global Trust Network. We have a solid foundation, world-class technology. We've got an unprecedented investor base and a great values-based culture, and a product that people just love. So it is the right place, and it is the right time in this market. We've created this category, digital transaction management. We've made ourselves the global standard. We're the trusted partner for the most powerful companies on the planet, and our growth has been extraordinary, and it achieved escape velocity. We've 60x the value of the company in the last several years. Now, it is the right time to pass the baton off to the right person, and that is Dan. And the thing that is, when I announced the Built to Last succession plan to the board 18 months ago, I said we're looking for three things: leadership, leadership, leadership. And Dan has been on a leadership journey his whole life.
Yeah.
And he is one of the best leaders that I have ever seen. And he has great range in terms of product, go-to-market, strategy, execution.
Yeah.
He's got all the ingredients. But at the end of the day, he also has super high integrity, a big heart, and he's a man of good character.
Yeah,
he's fun.
It's almost like he's not here as we're talking about it. So, Dan, this is super exciting. When you hear this guy talking about this company, is there an overwhelming sense yourself into?
Well, it's an infectious enthusiasm is what it is to me. When Keith, also an innovation future, and that's probably what I'm most excited about, is the opportunity to really take this to the next level with our products.
So you came from response a different situation. We were talking about it off camera, and that is that you had to come in and build a company and then take it to the next level. In this case, you're coming into a culture that this guy has spent a lot of time helping build over the last 5-6 years. What does that mean in terms of taking this company to the next level for you?
Well, nothing negative to say about Responses. Fantastic experience, and it was a turnaround to your point. This is very different. DocuSign is a rocket ship, so it's as much about making sure you just take that power that we have and shift it in small little increments to really shape the direction. But this is a home run in the process. So in a lot of ways, it's more fun because you don't have to think about the problems. You just look at the opportunities. So that's what I'm really excited to be here.
Keith, in terms of hyper growth, I mean, when we have those conversations around the future of DocuSign, what was it that stood out about Dan that you're like, okay, the trajectory we're on, which is up and to the right, this is the right guy?
There's no doubt about it. And, you know, the thing that's great about Dan, he has tremendous pattern recognition. Whether it's all the time he spent at McKinsey, whether it's time other startups, being CEOs of, his experience at Responses, though, is absolutely invaluable because he scaled that thing in a very big way. And, you know, when I did a reference check with Tim Haley, who was my headhunter 20 years ago at Ariba, and his board member for 10 years, I called him up, and he said, Krach, I can't believe you got Dan. I go, well, the press calls this the #1 CEO software search in the world. And the three
That's funny, I've never heard you say that.
the three big things he said, he goes, first of all, Dan is the hardest working guy I've ever seen. And by the way, the CEO sets the pace. The second thing is that he to tell you this, he is the smartest guy in the room, and he's also very data-driven and analytical, which is key at our scale in terms as we grow. He also has a self-deprecating sense of humor. I don't know what that word means. Those are big words, but I think he is just a fun guy to be around, and that's important in the culture of DocuSign.
You mentioned something yesterday during our all hands that I thought really stuck out to me, and that is that you have to have this level of humility to take a job like this because there's this balance of egos and knowing what you have to do. There's a lot of attention on it right now. He says you're super humble and you're always self-deprecating. How has that played into some of your success, especially at a place like Responses and then transitioning to DocuSign?
Well, I think if you combine the two phenomena that Keith described, one is you got to be hardworking and very tough on yourself. And I like to have the attitude to tell the people, I expect a lot from everyone at DocuSign, but I'm not going to ask them to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And while I can be tough on myself and tough on others, I also like to have a good time. I want to have fun, and I think people see that. And maybe a little, self-deprecation, or poking fun at yourself. It's not so bad to show other people that let's have some fun out here. I think this is a great culture already built around we're going to work hard and we're going to enjoy it. But the biggest part about it is we're so damn proud about what we're building. And that's why I think this culture around customer success that Keith has built, that's what really connected to me. Because at Responses, we were proud about the fact that we worked at a company that cared about our customers so much. And when I walked into the doors of DocuSign, it was coming home again.
You mentioned the culture. How does that feel? People are so passionate about DocuSign, and after I joined this company, I think you told me, you'll never get hugged more by strangers once you tell them you work for DocuSign. This culture had been built, and people are super loyal and dogged about it. What does that feel like for you?
Well, it's interesting because there's also the customers. And Keith has all these great docu stories that he's filled me in on some, but I've had my own experiences as well, and it is so powerful to go to someone and say, I work at DocuSign, and have them say the same thing they all say. DocuSign, I love DocuSign. And there's just not that many companies where you get to have that opportunity.
That's
so
true.
That's what's been great to me. And the culture feels that people feel proud about the fact that our customers love us.
Yeah, do you feel like that's part of the legacy that you're leaving behind as well? Just you've continued to build on that culture.
I think it is, and I think that's what's just so heartwarming at DocuSign, because we have a chance to change the way business is done and how people live their lives, and that's a noble mission, and we have fun along the way.
Yeah. Dan, your first 90 days, I mean, I don't want to. I know you've got a lot to do in terms of getting out in the field, meeting a lot of the folks who are making a difference at DocuSign. But what do you have sort of in your mindset as to your first 90 days here?
Well, I think the first thing, as you said, is a lot of listening and learning, because this is a big and complex business. We've got a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of momentum, a lot of growth, and you want to first do no harm. And I want to make sure I maintain the trajectory. But I think that there's a couple areas I really want to focus on. One is on the product roadmap. We have so many growth opportunities here that I think the most important thing for us to do is sequence them, prioritize and sequence those opportunities. And I think that the conversations I've had with a lot of DocuSigners to date, they said that same thing. We have so many opportunities, getting some clarity around that prioritization is key. So that's probably the single biggest thing. The other big thing is I want to spend time with customers, and I want to understand what we're doing right, where they see this opportunity for us to do more, to make sure that is really informed in our plans going forward.
The next level of the DocuSign product, yesterday you were kind of laughing with Ron Herson, who's our head of product, about you're going to be spending some time with him. Do you feel like you're also going to be sort of pushing to what's the next thing at DocuSign? I mean, we're making great announcements, but there's always more.
You know, it's interesting because you say that. On the one hand, if you think about other, sort of work plans you see and product plans that companies have, they sort of have this couple things we're working on in the short term, and then some big ideas not very well formed. But if you look at some of the work that's being done on payments here, you look at some of the work on international standards, allowing us to be in Europe and Asia, I mean, there is a lot already out there. So I don't think this is a sense of me coming in with a bunch of new ideas. I think this is figuring out how to harness the incredible work that's already been done and just get that focus on which are going to be the key big ones. So this is a robust product pipeline already.
Yeah, perfect. Keith, I want to transition a little bit to what's next for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been at the helm of this thing. You've watched it grow. What are you going to do next? What's he going to have you do? And how excited are you to continue to be part of the DocuSign family, just in a little different role?
Yeah, well, as I told the DocuSign family yesterday, this is such a huge market. It's such an incredible opportunity. I look at it as a marathon, and the way to further our preeminence in this market is, the analogy is, it's a marathon. You have to sprint the whole way. And the only way to do that is a relay race. And relay races are won or lost on the Baton Pass. So I am focused on the Baton Pass. And, from day one, I always said, we want to make it a textbook transition, and we are off to a great start. So that is my sole focus. Now, after that, maybe I'll work with one of our new advisory board members, Adi, who's the CEO of Harvard Business Review, and we'll write a tech study on a perfect CEO transition.
You're going to still going to do some coding in your office?
I'm a closet coder. I usually just do it on the weekends.
Right. Just build little things.
Just build little things.
So, Dan, kind of watching as you're taking over here, what do you feel like is the one thing that you would want to make sure that folks know about DocuSign for you? We talk about legacies and what you're handing over, but what do you think that's going to look like for you in the next, year to 2 years as you're building out this global trust network?
So two things. So before I answer your question, I just want to comment on Keith's last comment. Important around this.
Because he's a coder?
Because he's a coder.
Okay.
No, about the handoff. I think there's something really interesting. People have talked about this as sort of this transfer and this baton handoff. But one of the things that's really important, I think, for DocuSign family to know and everyone in the marketplace to know, Keith's not going anywhere. So this isn't a handoff where he's done with the race. Keith's going to take on new responsibilities and some way different responsibilities. And I'm going to be the CEO of the company now, but he's going to be an active chair of the board. He's going to be heavily involved with our partners and our customer opportunities. There's no better business development and sales executive in the Valley than Keith Krach.
That's right.
And I don't want to lose that, gem from what we have here at DocuSign.
Yeah.
So just want to make sure you understand.
Sure,
that.
yeah.
It's not a transfer.
Yeah.
He's retiring.
It sounds like he's saying you're not the hook.
I'm at his service. I'm at his service.
And then in terms of, the second stage of legacy, it's a little early on day two to think about the legacy.
Well, we think big here,
But I think it goes back to this concept that Keith actually mentioned at the beginning, which I think there's an opportunity for DocuSign to be an important company, and important in a bigger sense than you just think about a business. And this idea of changing lives and that we're making people's lives better. And I want to be clear, it's not like we're saying we're curing a medical disease, but we are really having a big impact on changing people's lives. And that's whether it's the business having their digital transformations, because if they don't have those transformations successfully, their companies will die. And if we are in a situation where we have consumers that are spending so much time, forced to do these sort of paper-based processes, their really lives can be a lot better with DocuSign and Go, as we like to call it. So purpose and our mission is something a little bit bigger than just the business and having a real positive impact.
Well, it makes sense because as we've heard Keith say, when you talk about what disruption looks like and people ask you, hey, what are you disrupting? And your response is?
Paper.
Do you feel like that's still very much the same? I mean, are we still looking to disrupt paper?
I think it's paper, but it even goes beyond it. We see a lot of our businesses now where they've already moved, in some cases, off paper onto these sort of electronic processes, but they're antiquated electronic processes. They're inefficient. They've taken paper and made it electronic paper. We're trying to say, let's change the whole way you do your process to make it efficient. That's why when we talk about some of our customers, like we were just talking about Salesforce.com last night, all 3,000 of their reps are now using our software. They're closing these processes that would have been 2 weeks to go from sort of a customer saying, I want to sign up with you, to being signed in on, down to 90% of them are done in less than a day. That is changing the business. It's changing their customers' experience. for the reps, they're getting their commissions
Yeah.
faster. I mean, it's a win-win-win model. It really is a big transformation. I think that's what DocuSign can do.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And, it's interesting because it's at the top of the list of every CEO of every global 2000 company. And so many realize that we're either the first step in their digital transformation or the catalyst for the digital transformation.
Right, great. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for joining me. Before we close out, any questions from our producers? Do we have any questions? Great. So we got a couple of questions. You guys okay to hang
We're
out?
ready.
I know
Yeah,
you're really
totally.
busy.
Bring 'em.
Go ahead, Caitlin. Give us the first question. And if you have them, just keep sending them in. We want to make sure that we're answering any questions folks might have.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, she's pulling them up. Are you at all are you a fisherman? Are you gonna be doing any fishing? Or are you gonna be too busy for that? A little golf?
I guess I'm going to have to think
You're
about
not a Purdue
that.
guy, so I know you like basketball.
Yeah, I'll be back at Purdue. And by the way, we just put the president of Purdue, Mitch Daniels, on our advisory board too. So we're absolutely thrilled about that. So I think, and that's a beautiful thing about DocuSign is a chance to give back. I'm going to spend a fair amount of time. I'm the chairman of the DocuSign Impact Foundation, which is focused on transforming lives by transforming charitable causes. And so
Great.
That's just a great thing for all of us to be able to give back in that way.
Okay, go ahead, Caitlin. What do we got?
This question was to Dan. Where do you see blockchain having a role in legal contract agreements?
Blockchain legal contract.
The overall process around what DocuSign does is significant. And we've actually just rolled out, in fact, we're going to fully announce in Q1, our payment solution. And if you think about it from a DocuSign standpoint, after someone signs a contract, in many situations, the absolute next thing you do is a payment. And so we're actually taking an approach not just to think about blockchain, but to think about all the payment networks. So whether that's someone that wants to use the Visa network, whether that's someone that wants to use a new system like a blockchain or a PayPal, we want to have all of those options. But we think it's going to be really important. From a standpoint of blockchain differentiating from other payment systems, I think the adoption rate is still low on a consumer basis. But if you take a look at what the big banks are doing right now, the big banks are all taking a look at the blockchain. So I'm less excited about Bitcoin specifically, but very bullish that blockchain will become a significant part of our payments network.
All right, good question, Simon. Thank you. Anything else there, Caitlin? Okay, great. Well, I know you guys are super busy. Just want to say thanks again. We want to thank you for watching and taking a little bit of time out of your day to hear from these two fellas. We're super excited. Thank you for the legacy that you're leaving behind, Keith, and your leadership over the last few years. And Dan, thank you for jumping on this journey. It's going to be a fun and yet wild ride. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
we'll see you next time here on